Welcome to the Wareham Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, October 17th, 2022. This is a very special meeting just to be held to being held to discuss the updates to our Conservation Commission filing fees. We have, please introduce yourselves.
Denise Schultz.
Michael Mercier.
I'm Dave Pichette.
Sandy Slavin.
Carol Melanson.
Jessica Parr.
Thank you. Denise, this was your project. Please lead us.
The data collected was from Marion Carver, Bourne, Rochester, Mattapoisett, Middleborough, and Fairhaven. Thanks to Michael, he helped me with this.
Sorry, did I open the hearing? Virtually?
You can state that it is.
Oh,
yes.
the hearing's open, sorry.
Okay. We are here to discuss the fees for the Wareham Conservation Commission. We are one of the only towns not charging higher fees for after-the-fact filings. With the rise in this category in recent months, we felt that the penalties were called for to deter such activity. Some towns have a substantial amount. We are just doubling the fees as we did in other towns had done. Additionally, we took the middle road in assigning new costs to all of the activities, and they have not been updated for the last 15 years. We also do not cover our budget supplies and so forth. Not that we are expected to out of the monies that we collect, but we need to try to cover some of those costs better than we do. I don't know if you want to go over each activity. What we did was we broke down the categories under NOI as they are defined by the Department of Environmental Protection.
I think an explanation as to the three categories under NOIs would be helpful.
Okay, if you look at the back of the sheets that we handed out, the categories, as I said, are broken down per the Department of Environmental Protections. Category 1 covers single-family lots. Do you want me to read through all of this?
I don't know that you
Just
need to
refer
read
to
through
it.
them all. Just refer to the different categories
Okay,
and
there's
the fees that are associated.
5 different categories, obviously relating to 5 different types of development.
So the more complex the category or
Right,
development,
correct.
the higher the
higher
notice
the
of
fee.
intent fee.
Correct. We did not break in anything from the RDAs out. That's just a flat fee.
So
But
the
we did-
RDAs went from $50 to $75.
75, we did raise them because they haven't been raised, as I said, in approximately 15 years. And then an after-the-fact filing, even under the RDAs, has been doubled. So each category that is broken out, other than category 5, an after-the-fact filing is doubled.
Then on top of that, after the fact filing fees, there will be our fees. What do you want to call them?
Fines.
Fines. Thank you.
Fines, correct.
Our fines on top of it. Okay.
Right, this is not cancel out fines, it
Just-
just
okay.
is an addition to. It's in order to try and deter that type of activity that has been occurring.
Who determines the fines?
We have a cheat sheet as to what we can charge, like $300 if it's someone did work in our no-work zone and they have to do a restoration, $200 if they've done the work without approval, but there's no restoration required, that type of thing. Honestly, it's in my folder, which I left at home, didn't think I'd need it, but it's a standard. I can bring copies for our next meeting as to the category and the amount of fines for each one of them.
No, those fines are determined by this board?
Yes.
With the max being $300. So what's required in terms of fines or what's allowed is $300 per day. That's the max, not just this commission, but any town entity as a non-criminal fine can issue.
Okay.
So that's the max that we can do.
So the state regulates
That's
what
a
our
state.
maxes are?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. In fact, there's been some discussion amongst folks at the state level to try to bang that up to a higher number, but it just hasn't been voted through.
Yeah.
So currently, it's $300 per day.
Are we at the max on fines that we're allowed to assess, or are we,
We do issue up to $300 fines. Yes, we have done that
Okay.
routinely, and so yes.
okay.
But that's in total, right? Not per day.
No, we've done that per day on certain situations that have warranted it. But normally, we just do a $300 fine because the person at that point is trying to be in compliance. But if we've had folks who are not, then yes, we've done multiple days.
And I've
worth.
never known one to go, I've never known one to
Well,
go daily.
Well, we did do one. This was before, I think, all of your times
Right.
here, maybe 12 years ago or so, where there was a big development that had a multi-unit structure built without the proper approvals in terms of conservation, that is. And they ended up getting fined multiple thousands of dollars, which they ended up paying. So, but it's not typical, let's put it that way. Usually we issue the $300. On a couple of occasions, as you've heard, we've done $300 to the owner, $300 to the contractor. So, you know, sometimes it can end up being more than 300, but the 300 is really the max we can do per day per violation.
We also, if I recall properly, have given them a time that it had to be done by. And if it wasn't done by that time, then we said that we were going to institute the $300 a day.
Right, yeah. Typically, you would give them some sort of a sense that this is going to occur
Sorry.
before you start doing the per-day fining. Give them a shot to comply. And then if they don't, then they know the deal and they're subject to the fines.
Okay. 'Cause, yeah, I mean, the fines are something that really, because a lot of people do stuff knowing they shouldn't do it, and they do it anyway.
I know.
And with
Which is
things,
why we felt that we needed to raise the after-the-fact fees.
Right, well, so
Yeah.
that I think is a good thing to have, because as you said, if we only can fine $300 a day, but we, as a fee, we can require a doubling of the filing fee, then that's a way to generate
right, right.
extra.
A
And
little bit
some-
more pain.
Yeah, some of the towns actually do more than just doubling the fines. In general, most of them just double the fines, but some of them put some hefty,
You mean the fees?
the fees, I'm sorry, yes, the fees. So
I mean,
if you want to
yeah.
discuss after-the-fact filing fees being higher than what we've recommended, we're open to that discussion, Carol.
Well, the after-the-fact filing fees on things, for example, piers. That's something that, I mean, they know they're not supposed to do that. It's not like there's any question in their mind that they can't just slap a pier down wherever they feel like slapping it down and hope they don't get caught.
Well, I think in this instance, when you look at the categories, that typically would lead to a pretty good additional dollar figure when you double the fine, because a fee for a pier is usually not cheap. So
Right,
if they then had to pay double, then,
right.
yeah, it's, the only cases where we have had a couple of these recently are ones where we probably wouldn't have approved it and wouldn't approve it even if they came in and applied for it properly. So in that case, you're just going to get your $300 fine, but at least the thing will be removed and it won't be coming back, you
Right.
know?
The trees was another one that I had an issue with. We had the guy that removed several trees, and we were only allowed, would we find him $200 or $100 or something? Because it wasn't per tree, it was,
Well, see, I think, I'm not sure the specific case you're referring to, but you can actually consider that per each tree as a violation. So you can, in theory, do that, issue per tree. But you just got to be cautious with that because, you know, if you get too out of control with it, then they're going to take it to court and you may or may not see that money, you know, so.
right,
Carol, you can address that, though, by restoration. and replacement of the trees that they took out,
Well, if you take
which we
that
have
down
not
a
been doing.
40-foot oak tree and you take down 6 of them,
Right, but if they have to put in something substantial, obviously not a 40-foot tree, but I think we need to start having people restoring the areas that they're destroying.
But in that instance you just mentioned, you certainly can do a $300 per tree fine.
yeah, because
Some-
it was the Swiss Beach one.
And
Yeah.
we're
We had the
still, are we
storm.
still waiting
Yeah,
for
we're
them to come
still,
back?
we still haven't concluded that 100%. That was sort of the initial whack at it, but, you know, he still is subject to potentially, and what I would recommend is replanting trees in there where he,
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with people removing trees that need to be removed, certainly.
Right.
But I do have a problem with somebody going, oh, well, nobody's looking, let me hack down,
Correct.
6 or 8 trees to improve my view.
You.
And I cleared a lot. I cleared my lot, just happened to be as wide as my house, overlooked Buzzards Bay. Duh.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think we
Nothing
also,
else, just that strip.
we need to start not just fining, but looking for this restoration and also making it that it has to be a viable thing for a
Yes.
set number of years. Because if you don't set a number of years, I mean, they could just stop watering it after 2 years.
Right.
If you make it that it has to be viable and I don't know how we put on years for something
We
like that.
can. That you, here is a time frame which was best to plant, time of year to plant, and that it has to be reviewed every 6 months, and if anything dies within 3 years, it must be replaced.
right,
I
that
mean,
can be
you
in the
can
order
put
of
that in your
conditions.
order of conditions.
Yes, okay, and I think we need to start doing that, because we haven't been.
We have been on some very recently, but
Right.
in years past, we have done that for restoration projects, but not per se for violations as much, yeah.
Oh, we got some big ones down Bourne Point Road, down that way. Had to replant his whole hill.
Now, my question is also, I know that there was an issue another different issue across from the park, where they took down trees within the wetland. We stopped them before they took all the trees down in that area.
Where's this? that you're
Swiss
talking
Beach,
Swiss
by Pond Road. that
Pond
Carol-
Road, remember when
That
I
Denise
called?
called us in
about? Oh,
on?
yeah.
Ceased and
yeah,
desist.
Yeah,
They have not come before us yet. Now, in that kind of a case, obviously, we don't want them going back into the wetlands to plant trees. So how do you address that and get them to have to restore trees somewhere? I mean, if they've wrecked a wetland area,
well, you can require restoration in a wetland, that's,
they can go in and replant trees in the wetland?
sure.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But, you know, that's sort of a different topic, so we should kind of stick to the fees, and we
Yep.
can have a totally
Okay.
separate discussion on restoration issues another day, if
So-
that's what people
Okay.
That's
wish
fine.
to do.
Anything else, Michael?
At the moment, I got nothing to add. I don't think at the moment.
Jessica?
Is it intentional that the after-the-fact filing on category 5 is the same as the filing?
It was.
1,000?
and I can't remember
Is the
why.
500 to 5, yeah.
Okay, so if you would like to double that, we can do that, because that does
Well-
cover the works on the docks, piers.
Right, I think the reason potentially for a fixed number maybe is because that fee category is based on the length of the pier or the revetment. It's not just a flat all the time rate,
Okay.
you know, but if, you know, that's totally fine. If the commission wants to bump that up to 1,000 instead of 500, that's totally fine.
I would feel comfortable doing that if
I
anybody
would
else
too.
does. So we're going to change category 5 after the fact filing to read 1,000.
All right. Any other comment on what we have in front of us? If not, I believe we're going to close the hearing and look for the modified report of filing fees at Wednesday's meeting when we will vote on them. Now, the question is when do we want to implement this? Do we have a target date in mind?
Can I ask one other question
Yeah.
before we get on to that? So in terms of after the fact, in terms of certificate of compliances, there's a fee for after the fact. So what's the situation there? Because obviously, they've already done a project, they're trying to get a certificate of compliance. What's the after the fact filing fee for that for?
I guess,
In other
when would it occur?
In other words, when you file a notice of
Oh, so they
intent,
file it, but it's being filed after the fact, so it would not fall under the original filing fee if it's already done and they're looking for a
But the certification
certificate.
of compliance, it's always after the fact. You have to have an as-built plan.
But if they built it and it's not per the plan.
That's different.
That's different,
That's a denial.
okay?
yeah, so if they came in and they didn't build the project according to the plan, then the commission just wouldn't issue the certificate of
Certificate of
compliance, and you
compliance.
could require some modifications to be made if that's what would be going on with that particular circumstance.
So we will remove both after the filing fees for certification of compliance, because it really is not applicable.
Okay.
Yeah, and the same I would say for an extension request. If somebody comes in for an extension request, they have to make a request before their
Time period is
order of
up.
conditions expires. If they come in and try to request something after it's already expired, then they shouldn't be getting an extension because it's already expired. They should file a new notice of intent.
So lines 11, 12, and 13 should state N/A.
14? Because you said extension requests, so.
Oh, not-
I might be wrong with that
Are
one.
we on amended order of conditions or extension?
So 13 can stay because, again, somebody could
Okay.
have an order, do something they weren't supposed to do, and then come in after the fact and say, oh, I know I made a mistake, I'd like to amend my order to fix that, so that's okay. So I would say 12, 14, and 15 would just be NA.
And what about 11?
11 is the same, yeah, I don't see, yeah, you wouldn't want something there either.
And under the request for amended funds, order of conditions, can you format them the same as they did for filing and after filing? Put one on top of the other as opposed to on the same line? Or
Yes.
do I have, yeah,
Yeah, no, it's simple to do.
just so they're,
It conforms.
yeah, so they're like,
Okay.
all right?
Not a problem.
Are we good with the wetland delineation confirmation and the number of visits? And the fees?
Yeah, I think that's fine, because like I said, those should be sort of discretionary because, part of the original fee is including the fact that you're going to be reviewing these things.
Yeah, and I think we should say waiver by conservation agent in both,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
instead
for
of,
consistency.
correct.
All right?
Yes.
So now you can close the hearing.
I move we close the hearing.
I have a motion,
A second?
Second.
and all in favor?
Aye.
400, we've closed the hearing at 4:47? 4:47?
That looks,
Yep. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. A lot of work.
Good job.
oh, thank you.
Good job.
Need a motion to adjourn, did you
We'll
just do
need,
that?
yep. Now that we've closed the hearing, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. We'll see you Wednesday night, everybody. Thank you
And I'll
for
bring the
coming out. and
corrected form.
Thank you to the public.
Are we off the air?